What's going on, fellas? So today I'm going to give you a few reasons why dominant and assertive men are intimidating and sometimes trigger most people. The idea of a masculine man in today's world can be toxic in some people's eyes. Most people are intimidated by masculine men today for a few reasons that I'll explain. If you are a masculine man, you definitely deal with a lot of this shit. If you're on your way to becoming a more masculine man, you should definitely anticipate this and prepare for this type of behavior and treatment from most people. You will get a lot of praise, admiration, respect, attention, and attraction for being a masculine man. But at the same time, there will be pushback, there will be backlash, there will be an intimidation factor. Some people may hate it entirely, but that shouldn't change the fact that you still should be a masculine man. My uncle used to say this shit, bro. Nobody wants a warrior around until there's a war around. Alright, guys? Most people are not going to like your masculinity when it doesn't benefit them. Maybe you got to set boundaries. Maybe you got to be assertive. But when the time arises where your physicality is needed, your dominance is needed, just your whole masculine aura is needed to either fix a problem or get the job done. As soon as it's needed, that's when people actually want it. That's when they desire it. And that's when they can care less about how dominant and assertive you are. So don't change who you are. Just want to say that first. You just got to understand how people are going to react to you being who you are. Now, first reason why dominant and assertive men intimidate and trigger most people is because dominant and assertive men all have something in common. All right, G? And when you look at all these men, you notice something. There's a certain type of presence. There's a certain type of aura. There's something about them that tells you, one, they don't play games. Two, he's a man of value, and you can just tell just by the way he stands, walks, and even breathes. But when you run across some people, whether you got another man who feels inferior of your presence and authority, or whether you got a woman who's triggered by your presence and authority for a few reasons that I'll explain later in the video, there are certain people who will not like you just because of who you are, and you don't even have to open your mouth. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're new at a job, all right, and you got this boss who don't like you and you can't figure out why. You never told him anything. You never did him anything offensive. You actually try to stay clear of him because you've heard some bad things about him. I'm giving you a scenario. But as time goes on, like I said, you realize he don't like you. But then you also realize that the only reason why he don't like you is because the attention and the admiration that you get from other people. Like when you walk into rooms, all the energy shifts your way. Everybody shows you respect. Everybody shows you admiration. Everybody gives you the attention from the authority and presence that you have. But this other person doesn't, i.e. your boss. A lot of you guys have been in this situation before. In this situation, you got to understand dynamics, and you got to understand the nature of the beast. No man wants to feel inferior to another man. Simple as that. So let me help you understand this. Let me frame this. If I'm sitting in the room, right, and I got a room full of chicks, and they all around me, and they giving me attention. Okay, D, you all this. Okay, D, you got body game. You know, they touching all over me, right? And then when you walk in the room, they don't start treating me bad. But I can tell that the energy has changed. I can even tell that you're higher on the hierarchy than I am. Why? Because most of the girls are shifting their attention towards you. See, if I had more presence and authority than you, even if you walked in the room, they may look, glance, may stare a little bit, but then shift their attention back to me. But if everybody's focusing on you, it's a difference, all right, fellas? And a lot of people will be triggered by this. You don't have to be around a certain person, like physically, but your presence and authority still can affect them. There are people online, other men online, that will see you, see your persona, and secretly compete with you because of your presence and authority. So if you're a man and you got aura and you got charisma, and most of it is without you speaking a word, you will intimidate and you will trigger a lot of people, especially men. Now, I would say in today's world, women as well, because a lot of these women want the spotlight. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be the man. But on a large spectrum, in most cases, you'll get this a lot from men. Another reason why dominant men intimidate and trigger people is your confidence. All right, fellas? And it's not regular confidence that masculine men have. Men who are sure of themselves. And what do I mean by dominant men? That's what I mean. Men who are sure of themselves. Men who don't take no for an answer. Men who know what they want in life. All right, fellas, men who have worked their way up, and not just financially, but mentally, physically, emotionally, to be that guy. All right, so if you're a masculine man, usually you have confidence, a lot of confidence. It's one of the facets of being not only a high value man, but just a man, period. But the thing about dominant and assertive men is they have unapologetic confidence. I mean, they're so decisive, so decisive. They know what they want so much, to the point that they won't bend, they won't fold, they won't rock, they won't move based on others' opinions, feedback, suggestions, recommendations, whatever. It doesn't matter what you have to say. If I know what I want, I'm going to go get it. And also, I'm going to do the things to get it. And not only that, if I feel a certain way about myself, like if I feel like I'm a G and I feel like I'm that guy, it doesn't matter what you think or what you feel about it. I'm that guy. Maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I'm in my own world, but I'm that guy. And that's how most dominant, assertive, and masculine men are. Who will this piss off and who will this trigger? Most modern women today. Gee, let me help you out. Let me give you an experiment to do. If you want to find out how confident you really are, how confident you really seem, go walk in a group full of modern women today, all right? Not the feminine ones. I'm talking about the slightly masculine ones. Go walk in a circle of them with your confident aura and turn around and look at their faces. If they not scrunched up like this and looking all mean and looking at you like, who did he think he is? If they ain't looking at you like that, fellas, you're not confident enough. All right? I did this test. And I've been I'm always ultra confident, fellas, but I really exuded it around feminine, pretty women, all right? And they love it. They feed off it. It's like catnip to them because men like that can protect and provide for them. But if you get around an independent woman who has no need for you, G, this is actually a turn off. Why? Because this is competition for independent, strong, feminist women, all right, guys? So there will be men who will be intimidated by your unapologetic confidence because they don't have it and they want it. Gee, I guarantee you, listen to me clear. Gee, listen to me clear. If any man is intimidated, hating on you, criticizing you, or ridiculing you for anything, matter of fact, for most things, not anything, because sometimes you need to hear what you need to hear because your shit stink. But for most things, if any guys feel any type of way about it, 9 times out of 10, they want that trait. They want that characteristic. They want whatever you have. Or they mad because they don't have it. All right? Or they don't have the capability to get it. Or they too lazy to get it. Whatever the case is, fellas. All right? That's how it is. So if you got any man who is intimidated or triggered by your confidence, it's probably because they want it as well. And it usually highlights something that they do not have. All right, G, but when it comes to these modern women, G, you got to stay confident. Most women today will be triggered by your confidence. They will be intimidated by it. Will they get over it and just understand that's how men gonna be? Some women will, because they just program. But some women are cooked, bro. All right, they can't be around confident men. They got to be around a subservient beta men who gonna do whatever they say. So if that's not you, prepare for the intimidation factor. Prepare to trigger a lot of people. Not saying you won't be able to get along with people, but like I said, most people don't want the warrior around until it's time for war. All right, G? And what that means sometimes is people gonna love your good masculine qualities. Your good masculine qualities. Like the fact that you can protect, provide, lead, guide, and all that stuff. But they may hate your bad masculine qualities. Like the fact that you got to check people, put them in their place. Every now and then you got to slap somebody upside the head. They don't want that part, all right? So like I said, they only want the warrior when it's time for war. All right, guys. Now, next reason why you may intimidate and trigger most people by being a dominant and assertive man is you having emotional control. All right, G, one of the facets, another facet of masculinity, emotional control. I give you an example. Look at people like Thomas Shelby from Peaky Blinders. One of the reasons why Thomas Shelby and Peaky Blinders is so intimidating is because you'll curse him out, you'll shoot his mama, G, and he'll sit back and he'll be like, all right. And the thing about it is, you know he's capable of knocking your ass out. You know he's a threat. You know he's dangerous. But when crazy shit happens, when it's all chaotic, he's just sitting back analyzing, observing everything. That's scary, even for me, G, because if I do you something offensive and you just sit back like, it's going to trip me out a little bit. I'm going to be like, bro, what's up, bro? I thought you was ready to fight. All right, so I don't know when you going to snap. And you notice in Peaky Blinders, Thomas Shelby snapped at random moments when you least expected. He didn't snap when everybody was tripping. He actually used to snap when everybody was quiet. All right, it was like a reverse, G. It was crazy. That's where the intimidation came from, meaning he was in full control of his emotions. He picked when he wanted to yell and use rage to intimidate people, not as an emotional reaction. So this is another reason why controlling your emotions is so important. All right, now this is actually a valuable tool because intimidating, it's not even about intimidating people. It's just about you getting respect from people. All right, fellas, usually people who are well respected, are feared, are usually intimidating, and they trigger people based on their behavior, based on their actions, their morals, their values, and how they move. All right, fellas, most people don't have control of their emotions. Most people abruptly react to a lot of shit, and when you don't, you stand out like a sore thumb. All right, fellas, now, is it attractive? Yes, but you will still stand out. And anything that's different, it confuses people. And if it doesn't confuse them, it'll anger them. And if it doesn't anger them, it will scare them. All right? That's what different does. All right, fellas. Next reason why masculine men intimidate and trigger most people. And this is actually a downside of being a top tier and high value man. And that's having clear boundaries. All right, G, when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I didn't have a lot of boundaries. I had some standards, but I didn't have a lot of boundaries. Meaning I would make a standard, but once you cross that line, I didn't set boundaries to where you wouldn't keep fucking with me. All right? And I'm not talking about in a threatening way or a physical way. I'm talking about in relationships like with women. So in my 20s, if I told a woman stop talking shit, and if she kept talking shit, we'll start arguing, she'd throw that ass back, and everything will be all good. But now, in today's world, now that I'm a man of value, and now that I care about myself and love myself, and I walk with purpose, and I don't have time for bullshit, now when I tell a woman stop getting fresh with me and she don't, it's just straight to the door, all right? Because I got clear boundaries. I let you know up front what my rules are. If you don't follow them, you're done. Why? Because I don't have time for a lot of shit, all right, fellas? So that's the downside of being a top-tier man. Your dating pool may shrink because you have clear boundaries. Because you walking around with a fuck around and find out rule. You walking around with that mindset, which is a great mindset to have. You need this as a man on his purpose. Some of you guys need some boundaries. All right, G. But like I said, the downside to that is you will intimidate people. You will trigger people. See, a lot of men think once they become a man of value and once they get to this upper echelon, in the hierarchy, they think that everything's going to be great and it's going to be heaven. No, it's going to be better, a lot better, but it's not perfect. Why? Because you miss out on a lot of ass. I'm going to be honest. Just by having boundaries, all right, fellas? Is that a good thing? Yes, because these critters ain't shit anyway. I'm just saying. All right, now, next reason why you intimidate most people by being a dominant and assertive man is your competence and accomplishments. So if you are a guy, I'll give you a perfect example that most men face and will go through at some point in their life. Let's say you work a 9 to 5, all right? Let's say you are a police officer, or you work at some type of office, or you're a fireman, or you work some type of trade, all right, G? And every day you go to work, you're working with these other guys in your age bracket, from your background. Some of these guys have education, some of these guys don't. Some of these guys are from the hood, some of these guys from the suburbs. It doesn't matter, but all you guys have gotten to a certain point in life where you all work for this trade. So you all have pretty much the same lifestyle. But as time progresses, you start reading books. You start going to conferences. You start going to networking events. You start developing yourself, getting mentors. Now you starting side hustles. Now you doing all this other stuff on the side. So when you come to work, these other guys seeing this stuff. They seeing you on the side, but they don't quite understand it. Why? Because they got their normal lives, all right? When they go home, they go to their wife, drink a beer, play video games, and go to sleep. When you go home, you up all night in your laptop trying to build your future. And they're seeing this through your actions, through your body, through your aura. There will be some intimidation in that dynamic. Why? Because you're doing something that another man is not doing. Remember I said this earlier. All right, fellas? Men do not want to feel inferior to other men. This is why competition exists. This is why the first law of power is never outshine the master, because you never want to offend the wrong person. Now, should you walk around life being worried about whether or not you offend people because of your competence and your accomplishments? Fuck no. I'm just giving you the law of power. So when you get in certain dynamics, you got to understand this. This is why some of you guys get fired from your job and you don't even know why. It was for some dumbass reason that showed up on a fucking report or write-up, and you think it's that, and you think it's unjust and it's unfair. Gee, I agree. But that ain't the real reason. The real reason is that your boss has an A-type personality. And when you walked in all high and mighty with your chest up with all your accomplishments, it offended him. And you had to go. All right, G? Because he felt some type of way. That's how it is. So you got to understand. Law of power. Never outshine the master. That really has nothing to do with this point. All right? But you got to understand, when you become a man at a certain caliber, when you get into rooms, read the room, G. Some men will end you. All right, fellas, just because you outshine them, fellas. It is what it is. So understand this. Last reason why you will intimidate people from being a dominant and assertive man is from your principles. All right, your principles, your morals, your values, and your standards. A lot of you young guys, you hang out with other dudes where you know you don't really relate to those dudes. All right, yeah, y'all might be the same age. Yeah, y'all went to high school together. Yeah, y'all like playing Fortnite and all this shit. But you really don't relate to them. Why? Because you got bigger goals. You got bigger dreams. You got higher standards. All right, you got better principles. What I mean is that you know there ain't no way. And 5 years down the line, if you keep your mindset and they keep their mindset, ain't no way y'all going to end up in the same place. So what happens is what you try to do is you try to mingle with these people and you try to interact with these people. And there becomes complication in the dynamic because it's not balanced and it's not aligned. All right, G, and if it's not aligned, either you going to hate them or they going to hate you. Either you going to look down on them or they going to be intimidated by you. Either you gonna start to develop this like elitist mindset where every day you look at them, you get disgusted because they don't have values, they don't have principles or morals, and they just living lives as degenerates. Like when they ask you to go to a party and you like, bruh, for real, another fucking party? Like you don't even want to say that. You just like, nah, I'm good. And they still get intimidated by like, damn, bro, you think you all that? They get triggered. You think you all that? Oh, you don't want to go to the party? Oh, you must be Barack Obama now, huh? I get it. All right, G. That's how it is. That's why a lot of people that move up in life and they start getting more standards, more boundaries, start making more money, more status, moving up in the hierarchy, they get like this elitist. It's real shit. They get this elitist mindset because everybody below them is getting all intimidated and triggered by their success. And you sitting up there like, bro, you got the same opportunities as me. All right. So it creates a complex. People will be intimidated by your principles, by your morals, by the fact that you won't do the same degenerate shit as they would. And also, you're assertive about this shit. All right, fellas? And you don't care what people have to say about it. All right? So I really hope this video helped a lot of you guys out. This was actually requested by one of my subscribers. Really appreciate my guy for requesting this video. Share this with a homeboy that this will help out. All right, guys? It's your boy, KD. We out here, baby.